Hey there, friends. I've got a timeless love reading for you this day. So, this is a reading that, regardless of when it is that you choose to watch it, it's going to apply to your world and to your life at this time. So, in this moment, tune in with yourself and see, is this the right moment for you to be listening to this video? You'll know by listening into what your body, what your nervous system, and what your energy are doing in reaction to starting this video. So, if this is the right time for you to listen to this video, please proceed. So I've pulled a couple of cards for you, and I get the sense that I'm actually probably going to pull a couple more just to get a bit more clarity. The first card that's coming up in regards to this love reading for all those that are likely to watch this in the future is our death card. Now, the death card has a uh, polarized way of understanding it, which is life or death. But in its essence, this is a card about transformation. It's about the developmental process of going from one phase in life to another phase in life. Now, in relationship to your love life, this can mean, for those of you that are single, that you are going through a powerful metamorphosis in your life right now. You not being with somebody at this time has allowed you to come to the point where something significant can begin to happen. Now, people don't tend to think of the death card as being a positive thing, but there cannot be new life or a transformation. There cannot be spring without there being a letting go first. There needs to be a loss, a element of oneself that begins to shuck off or get transposed. We can't hold on to the old and simultaneously step into the new. It's rare that that works in a way that is particularly healthy. So for those of you that happen to be single right now, it's important to understand that you're in a phase in your world and in your life where an important letting go, an important transformation is occurring. Now, there's something positive about the death card because it's kind of got it's inevitable. In other words, it's not like you can mess around and accidentally not do the transformation. You might notice that our the Pope, priest Pope character is pleading with death. Please don't come forward. The child and the mother, two very innocent, tender individuals, are trying to hide from death, but death just keeps moving forward. Now, this is rather terrifying in some regard, but it's also a good sign. It means that what's happening is inevitable. There's nothing you can do about it. It's going to make its movement forward one way or another. So let's talk for a moment about those of you that are in a relationship right now. Now, there are a couple of ways that we can begin to look at this. And one way is exactly what we were just talking about with those that are single, which is that this is a transformation process that's happening, which means your relationship is probably going through some big shifts and some big changes. Now, those changes might be happening inside of you, and as a result, your relationship is beginning to shift and change and go into new directions. The other way of interpreting this is that the relationship is already on its last legs. It's heading towards the end. It has probably been falling apart for some time, and it only is just a few more steps away from it being like, okay, this is really done. How do we move on from this particular situation? So let's take a look at your next card in this particular piece. And part of the reason that this feels like such a powerful death card to start with is that it's followed up by another of our major arcana, which is the Emperor card. And the Emperor is all about structure. The Emperor is all about organization. It's all about the grounded qualities of life. This individual has already created great things in his life. He's already created an entire empire. So he's got wisdom and experience. He's learned how to put together a whole nation and run it in a good way. And the fact that these two are in combination here, that they're having a conversation with one another, it's quite possible that something that has been foundational for you for a long time is going through this big transformation process. So for those of you that are single, the Emperor card is a strong representation of the father archetype. Now, this could be actually your father. In other words, the way that you were raised by your father is beginning to get questioned and reorganized, particularly for women, but it happens in a slightly different way for men. But particularly for women, the relationship with your father can set the stage for how you're going to relate with romantic partners in the future, how you relate to men in general, right? When you're raised primarily, for those of us that are connected with our fathers, by one male and one female, or in some contexts, two males or two females. But somebody in that spectrum is going to be holding the archetypal forces of the masculine. And that's a lot of what the Emperor holds in this particular thing. So for those of you that are single, it's quite possible that you are going through the process of transforming that fundamental relationship. And what this means is that as that starts to change and transform and become something different, it's opening the doorway for a new kind of relationship, a new type of relating. We tend to have a particular pattern of how it is that we go about relationships. I'm sure you've experienced relationships or multiple relationships where you're like the same theme, like it's the same type of person, or it's the same struggles that we're getting into, or similar arguments. Some of those themes can come back to some of those primary relationships when you're growing up. And so something at like a fundamental level with your relationship to the masculine is going through a big transformation. Just to say for men, the way that this might look, for those of you that are watching this right now, this might look like the way that you orient yourself in life is going through a big change. In other words, your sense of orientation in life, how it is that you know this is where I am and this is where I'm going, could be going through a big shift. So now, for those of you that are in a relationship, that same type of dynamic could be going on. You could be going through a big shift in terms of your relationship to the masculine, which would be shaking up some of the relational dynamics that are happening in your world. It's also possible that you are really in the process of beginning to step away from or transform a relationship with a man who has been a very stabilizing element in your life. Now, on the high side of the spectrum, the Emperor is very stabilizing, secure. They can be somebody that is very financially supportive in some way or another. On the negative side of the spectrum, the Emperor card represents somebody that is stifling, hyper controlling, somebody that always wants you to do exactly what they want. So it's possible that you are going through a process of finding yourself again within this type of relationship, or you're in the process of beginning to separate yourself from that relationship as a whole. Now let's look at our final card in this particular context, which is our Two of Wands. And this is such a great card in our set of three, because it's showing that you're starting to look out over the horizon and see that you have new options, right? Here's our guy. He's still standing in the castle, which means he hasn't necessarily implemented the changes that he wants to make just yet. He's still at home. He's still sort of planning things out, but he's looking out over the walls. He's looking at where his next direction might be. He's even holding the globe in his hand. In other words, the world is your oyster. You have many different options and possibilities that are before you. So in particular, for those of you that are in this single scenario, you're single, whatever it is that you're going through, that you've been doing work on and that you're transforming, you're changing some of these dynamics inside of yourself, it is opening up the door for some really beautiful new possibilities and potentials. You can see there's a big wide sky. It's kind of like you've unlocked something in your psyche, and now you can see just how many possibilities there are. You can really feel that there's going to be good attractions coming in your life, possible new relationships for you. For those of you that are in a relationship right now, it's quite possible that as a result of some of these dynamics that you're starting to face and look at, whether those are the father elements or there's an actual individual in your life that has some of this emperor positive or negative vibe, you might be in a situation where you're starting to consider, what are my options? What is it that I want down the line? Is the relationship and the trajectory that I'm currently on what I'm wanting? Can I see it? Can I feel that that's the direction that's going to be best for me? Or is there something else that's starting to creep in that feels more aligned with who I truly am? So at the end of the day, this Two of Wands is a fantastic sign. It really is showing that you're coming out the other side of whatever it is that's happening in your world right now with far greater potential. I would highly recommend doing some journaling about what it is that you want, what it is that your heart's wanting, what it is that feels like it's calling you in your life. Because to me, what I'm sensing here is that there are still some little bits of something that's going through the digestion process, the transformation process. And sometimes we can get kind of stuck on that. If there's something we've been doing for a long time, the dying off process can sometimes be slow because we cling to it a little bit. So finding the thing that you are excited about, that you're heading towards, whether that's a kind of relationship or a new dynamic in your relationship, can become like an engine, an inspiration that helps move you through this time of transformation. So this is your timeless love reading. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. If you would like more about what I'm up to, you can hop on my email list down below. I've got running workshops that are going on that have to do with truly learning to align at a deep level with your purpose and in your relationships and in your career. So check it out. And as always, it's nice to tune in with you. And I look forward to connecting again in the future. Take good care.